Alright guys, good morning. Sorry, I'm having a lot of issues like everybody else is. The Cloudflare servers are down for a lot of sites. Alright, let me quickly try to do this trade plan here, and then we'll figure out what the hell's going on. Yeah, if you guys are having any issues today with websites and brokers and whatever, it's a server problem. I think Cloudflare is like 30% of the internet or something crazy. So yeah, if you're having issues, it's because the servers are having some problems. Alright, let me take a look at our trade plan from last night. Do we need to update this? So we said holding above or below 95. We're looking for 740 and 787. That is still good. Holding below 95, we're looking for 605, which is that old gap level. And then 535, which is a very old value level going back to September. That trade plan is still good. We are kind of already playing out the downward trade plan, the bearish trade plan. So staying below 95 gives us that bearish bias into lower value, so keep an eye on that. Right now we have a little bit of a kind of a capital B or an extended D-shaped day. Where you had that D shape kind of turning into like a bearish trend. It'd probably be closer to a lowercase b at this point because the lower node is a lot stronger. Okay, same story with NASDAQ. It's kind of already starting our bearish trade plan, so holding below 948, we're looking for 443. That is the old gap level. And then 963 is old value going back to September. And then holding above that 948, we're looking for a value retrace. You could look for the POC around 151 or just the value high around 276 and that upper level around 380. I'm probably going to drop that down and include that POC. So that POC is 151 and then we have 276. I'm actually surprised my YouTube is working. I mean, knock on wood, it's probably going to go down. We'll see. Is YouTube, or sorry, is Twitter back up? Nope, Twitter is still down. It seems like my Tradeovate, my Addis, my TradingView, they're all doing okay. So really the only thing we're missing right now is like our news feed. My news feed is not working because I get my news from a bunch of different Twitter sources. Okay, looks like our sell pressure is continuing into the open here. That lowercase b imbalance showing some pretty strong stacked bearish delta. Twitter's working for you? Yeah, mine's not working, unfortunately. So regular Twitter is working, but the pro side that I use for my my news feed is not working. Funny enough, they use different servers. Okay, massive spike here happening out of nowhere. Keep an eye on VWAP. 67 on ES and 7 to 66 on NASDAQ. Not seeing the spike on NQ. Very strange move here. Okay, now NASDAQ is following very late. That was a very obvious lag between NASDAQ and ES. ES very clearly showed that push up almost like a minute before NASDAQ did. Seems like the servers are still down. Stronger. It's not like I can select the delay. Well, I guess I could select the delay to a certain extent, but I don't change that setting, so if there's more of a delay, it's either on your end or YouTube's end, usually. It might be from the Cloudflare servers, if I had to guess. My delay is currently, let me see. Funny enough, it's actually not telling me, so I'm not sure. There it is. It's about 5 to 6 seconds on mine, which is very normal. Yeah, it could be a Cloudflare issue. It's not that kind of lag liquidated. It's a kind of lag where ES is moving before NASDAQ, not like lag as in like a latency lag. ES was front running that move. It front ran it by probably about a minute or so. Seeing very low liquidity today, possibly because of the server issues, maybe? Or people just kind of waiting for the data later in the week. Yeah, if the delay is ever more than like 6 or 7 seconds, it's on your end, unfortunately. It's not on mine. What data? There are NVIDIA earnings tomorrow, FOMC tomorrow. There's a bunch of employment data coming out later in the week. There's a bunch of data coming out. Good morning, everybody. Wanatachi, Michael, backpacking. Here's a trade plan for you guys. AT, Patriot, Future, Scott, Ordinary, Jeremy, Morris. Mauser, Lubomir, Leo, Larry, Nitro, Lulu. 2013, James. Yeah, Addis, TradingView, Tradeovate, they all seem okay. YouTube seems okay as well. I think a lot of prop firm sites are having issues with Cloudflare. Twitter's having issues. A lot of news programs are having issues. Pa, James, Marcel, Igor, Yusuf, Darius. Good morning, Brad, Roman, Adam, Greg. Good morning, Larry, eBay, Trevor, Jose, Victor. Metis, Festivon, Trade. Yeah, if you guys are having any issues today, there is a large server outage right now that is affecting a pretty big chunk of the internet. Mostly in the London servers. Mine are on the Atlanta servers. A couple of sites are showing Atlanta being down. They're not giving too many details from what I can see on what's going on with the servers. Good morning, Faraj. Roma, Limbo. Good morning, Nerd. But yeah, I'd be very careful trading today without the with all those server issues. Level 2 orders coming in on almost every single order. Liquidity is very low. It's gonna be a weird day. Yeah, so you can just send me an email if you have any issues with the access. It should be on invite only. So if you go to your trading view indicators, it should be under invite only. If it's not there, just send me an email. Or if you're in Discord, just send me a Discord message. Very sloppy open so far. Long-legged doji, very typical when you have low liquidity. Price can move back and forth very quickly. It's not sticky. You're not sticking to certain levels. I talk a lot about this in our new video coming out this week, hopefully. No, it most likely will not be out tomorrow. We're hoping for Thursday, possibly Friday. I don't normally like releasing videos on Friday, but this one has already been postponed like a week. So if we have to put it out on Friday, we can. No, the shading is just an add-on. The regular indicator is the V.4 one. Yeah, the shading was an add-on because the old version used to have like candle coloring. And then I took that off because of a trading view bug, so then I created the little add-on. Right now we're just in a very wide rotation, guys. Keep an eye on the value high around 75, value low around 55. Very sloppy price action, seeing level 2 orders. You can see the blue orders on my tape. A lot of blue orders coming in because our level 1 liquidity is very low. NVIDIA, well, nothing I say about NVIDIA is going to matter because we have earnings tomorrow. And I don't predict earnings. I'd say if it has bad earnings, the major support would be around like 167-ish. 167 to 170. If it has good earnings, the pivot would be the obvious level. There's also a gap there at around 200 to 205. Yeah, like I said, nothing I say matters because we have earnings tomorrow. And I believe it's after hours tomorrow. So kind of like earnings on Thursday. Oh, I think my news feed's back up. Looks like everything's starting to come back. Failure to rotate, kind of. It basically finished that rotation. So I talk about this in the video that's going to come out this week. But what I was talking about is like when you have these balanced candles that are kind of chopping back and forth, typically you see one side of the candle has one side of the delta and the other side of the candle has the other side of the delta. And basically what that's telling you is there's a lot of buyers up here, but they're buying into those limit sellers, those responsive sellers, right? So we have all those limit sellers around the value high that's kind of holding you down. And we don't see that buy pressure, that delta continuing on the push up here. So it's kind of getting exhausted. And we were seeing that on the downside as well. So a lot of bearish delta on the downside, which means that there's a lot of bullish responsive traders, the limit traders, on the low here. And they were being exhausted and going back up, but now they're not, right? Now they are actually getting some sell pressure down here. So we'll see if they can stay below this 50 node. If it rebounds back into 50, we'll keep an eye on the tape, and we'll see how it comes in there. My news feed is on Twitter. You can just follow my Twitter, go to my list, and it's called News. You can follow the exact list, or you can go in and see who's on the list and take people off, put people on, don't matter. For the most part, I try to put accounts on there that are mostly unbiased. There's a couple of biased people on there, but they provide good data, so I kind of keep them on there. I usually put the president's account on there, whoever the president is at the time, obviously. I put the press secretary, whoever the press secretary at the time is on there. And that's pretty much it. Just like a bunch of financial accounts. I've got some gold people on there. I've got some oil people on there. I've got a bunch of accounts that just post the same headlines. Like Live Squawk, Financial Juice, stuff like that. Walter Bloomberg. Yeah, it's a pretty good list. Starting to get very one-directional, so breaking out of this balance here. Notice how they are protecting these lower clusters. They are obviously pushing below them. Buyers trying to build a node around like 34. You are getting a little extended off the ADMA here. So keep an eye on these prior gap levels. They've already been filled in. But it is still an important level because we can see so many reactions around that area. So keep an eye on that 443 on NASDAQ, and that same level would be 605 on ES. Starting to look pretty bad on the daily time frame. Momo putting in, it's giving up the high with that lower high. Almost putting in a daily pinch. We lost the daily pivot, retested it bearishly. We lost the trail, retested it bearishly. Not looking too good, to be honest. 30-minute trail has given you 3 sell signals so far today. Was that yesterday? That was yesterday, yeah. So 3 today. We have a 1-hour red trail, 4-hour, 8-hour, 12-hour. So the only one that has not flipped is the daily. So it is getting pretty bearish if we don't see that buy pressure coming in pretty soon. Starting to turn into more of a macro pullback instead of a short time frame pullback. Yeah, I can put my email there. So let's keep an eye on the delta chart here. And let's see if we get a delta flip, because right now this trend is extremely bearish. You're holding below the 80 MA on pretty much every single candle. You are one time framing on the 5-minute. You're obviously one time framing on the 30-minute. Extremely wide A session getting ready to close here. It's about 60 points wide. When you see these bars kind of flip for like one bar, it's kind of the same as when you see it on like a candlestick chart. It's just like a profit take, right? They're not actually taking control. They're not actually holding above this lower node. They're not gaining any significant levels. It's just mostly profit taking, right? It's when they start to build up and actually hold those nodes that becomes a problem, right? So bears are still obviously in control. And we're really starting to see the problem that we talked about like a week or two ago. When we lost that value flip, which is now like almost 200 points away, I think. The sellers are like I said, not just short term now. They're starting to pressure the higher time frames. You're starting to see that waterfall effect into the higher time frames. So when the higher time frames take over, you start to see these ridiculously large moves on the lower time frames like we just had. We just had a 60-point drop in a 30-minute session, right? Yeah, I explained that quite a lot in the volume profile video. The building up nodes and protecting them. I talk about it a little bit in this new video. I break it down a little bit more into, okay, we know there's a node there. Is it a bullish cluster or a bearish cluster based on delta? Still not seeing a ton of liquidity here. Look at how stable the trend is. You have that kind of fan effect where the EMAs and VWAP are kind of fanning out, and you're staying below that 80 MA on every single candle, even on the 1 minute. We're not seeing any major delta flips on our delta chart either. We're just seeing a very one-directional move where we are building up nodes and losing them. This is a little bit of a absorption for now, but it's only been happening for like 2 minutes, so not a big deal so far. Very early to say this, but keep an eye on the 30-minute close, obviously. If the B session just continues to rip downward, you're going to have a lot of single prints, right? So yesterday in Discord, I talked a lot about this because it's obviously an afternoon thing. You guys don't see me on stream in the afternoon. But one thing you want to look for when you are starting these major impulses is that pattern that we always talk about with the afternoon value, right? The afternoon value is typically not respected. We almost always see a pullback either that same day into the close or the following day, right? So when we actually have that afternoon value being respected, kind of like last Friday, you typically create pretty strong impulsive moves. So we did not repair that Friday afternoon break, and then look at what it did. You had a very strong push to the upside. Now, obviously, in hindsight, it came back down, but that's not the point, right? We're kind of seeing the same thing here. It did not fully repair that afternoon break. It kind of did. It had a pretty nice closing spike, but it did not fully repair it. So they are respecting that afternoon value. And now look at today. Because they respected that afternoon value, we're already pushing back down. Keep an eye on this 24 EMA here. This will be the first major retest since we started dropping here. You are seeing a lot of delta here. You're actually seeing some bullish delta come in. They haven't really reclaimed any major levels so far. You do have a little bit of absorption that we were talking about earlier. A little bit of absorption on that 04 and 10 level. Couple of bullish block trades around 17, 18. Keep an eye on how that delta's coming in on the 24 and on VWAP. We'll see if it flips back to being bearish. Shifted the POC down to this 20 node. Here's that 24 EMA test. So far, bullish delta is still coming in. On this chart, it's only delta. But on this chart, it's volume on the right and delta on the left. But this is purely a delta chart. We want to see that flow of delta. Like right there, we just saw a big shift in delta off that 24 EMA. Which, by the way, guys, today is moving very, very quickly. I'm trying to keep up, but I can't commentate that fast. So be very careful trading today. It is a very fast market, and there is basically no liquidity. You're using TradingView footprint. Yeah, their footprint charts are not very good. Their volume charts are okay if you're using the volume footprint. But if you're looking at Delta, I wouldn't bother, to be honest. Their Delta data is not very good. Good morning, Limbo. No problem. Putting in a higher low here on the 1 minute. Yeah, it's okay to get like the understanding of like what the charts look like, I guess. You're kind of seeing the patterns, but the data is just not very good. So it's like fruit from a poisonous tree, right? Keep an eye on this delta reaction here, because the first time we retested the 24 EMA, look at how fast that delta came in. It immediately dropped down. Which actually, why is this not... How did I do that last time? Alright, sorry, for some reason my indicator got taken off. But I was trying to say the duration of the candle. Because these are delta candles, they are not based on time, they are only based on delta. So you can have it set to tell you like how long that candle took. So like this candle was pretty fast. This one was a bit slower. This platform is Addis. And I actually have a promo code for you guys that I show in the new video, but I can show you guys on screen really quick. It's also in my poll, my on my YouTube chat. But there's a little promo code if you guys are looking to try out Addis. We'll also be giving away some accounts on our Q&A video next week, so on most likely on Monday. I show a lot of my settings, all the important settings, in the new video as well. Should be coming out hopefully Thursday, possibly Friday. Okay, keep an eye on this double bottom here. Is it going to put in a kind of a bulldog? Or are we going to quickly see bearish delta down here? It's already battling a lot. You can see that volume starting to spike on this candle here. Speaking of giveaways, if we get the stream to 100 likes today, I'll do some Apex account giveaways at the end of stream. Just remind me if I forget. Speaking of Apex, they are doing an 80% off sale. I'm not sure how long it's going until. Probably the next week or so. Let me double check. November 24th. When is that? That's like a week? Yeah, next Monday. Remember, if you guys get any new accounts during this sale, be sure to send them to my giveaway email. Follow the details on our most recent video. Make sure you guys get entered in that laptop giveaway we're going to be doing in the next probably 2 weeks. Okay, so we do have that bulldog coming in here. This is kind of a bad variation because it's going to run into VWAP. Possibly a bear flag into VWAP. There's only 2 good variations of a bulldog. It's when it's very far away from VWAP, so you can target VWAP. And when it's above VWAP, when the head of the bulldog is pulling back and using VWAP as support. Those are the 2 best bulldogs. When you have a bulldog like this, where it's a double bottom and it's popping up into VWAP, it's a bad variation because you could also say that that is a bear flag into VWAP. So it's kind of 2 trades countering each other. And you really have to make the decision which one you think has the better bias. So here's a good example of why I put that indicator on the delta chart. Because you want to see how long these candles are taking. Because they are not time candles, they are only delta candles, right? This candle at the bottom, that was that battle candle where they were trying to figure out if it was a double bottom or not. And that candle took 3 minutes. that traded 22,000 contracts. And then the candles above it, when they already decided that that was a bottom, it took 43 seconds, 11 seconds, 17 seconds. So that delta started flooding in very quickly compared to that battle, right? Kind of confirming that that candle was, in fact, a strong candle. What closes the delta candle? It's a 500 delta chart. So once there is 500 delta, either positive or negative, it will create a new candle. So this is exactly what I was talking about. So we see both patterns happening simultaneously. We see the bear flag in the VWAP. It's bouncing into VWAP and selling. But that sell is creating the head of the bulldog, right? A bulldog is a double bottom that pops up and then has a small pullback. So it's really hard to determine which one of those trades is the proper trade, right? That's why that bulldog variation is a little bit worse. Because the bear flag and the VWAP can win a lot of the time. Now, I will say this is the daily VWAP, not the session VWAP, so it's not as strong. To provide even more chop to this, we're on the POC node. So it's even more of a 50-50. I would say you have a slight bearish bias, obviously, because we're so bearish today. But yeah, you have a lot of chop. No, it's just like a candlestick chart. It's just personal preference. You just find what you like and try to find patterns with that time frame. It's not an exact science. There's no right or wrong with candlesticks like 1 minute, 5 minute, 30. It's just personal preference, whatever you like. If only trading was that easy, where we all could just trade the same exact time frame and there would be a right and wrong way to do it. Okay, this candle is kind of like a squeeze candle where we had a lot of bearish delta on the low of the candle, and now it's flipping into bullish delta. Keep an eye on that reaction of VWAP if it does hit that session VWAP at 48. Currently, the daily VWAP, the one that starts at 9:30, is holding us down a little bit. All right, sorry guys, had to mute for a minute. So far, you're seeing the exact thing I talked about earlier about the Bulldog being weak because it's turning into a bear flag into VWAP. Looks like VWAP is winning here. You had kind of a triple test of VWAP. You can see it on the 5-minute here. You have 3 wicks all hitting VWAP and then coming down. Well, that one wasn't early because that one was hitting the daily VWAP. But sometimes it will front run like both VWAPs, and it's really hard to predict a front run. It's all just about watching the orders come in, right? Like if it seems like it's hitting a wall where it's just not pushing higher into that VWAP, like the delta just keeps building up and pushing down. If it's building like a resistance node or something, then obviously you would need to take that trade early if you want to. But this case was pretty easy. It ran into VWAP almost immediately. It only took about 5 minutes or so. And then as it hit VWAP, you can see it was struggling on VWAP pretty much the whole time. So no front run on this one. But yeah, when it is front running, it's pretty hard. You just have to see where those nodes are building up. Speaking of nodes building up, we just moved the POC down to this 15 level. I'd feel a lot more comfortable front running like the session VWAP than the daily VWAP. Because in this case here, like if we were front running the daily VWAP, like let's say we sold like around here, you'd be so far away from the session VWAP. So it'd be very hard. But if it popped above the daily and then you got in like kind of in the chop zone, that would be a little bit better than front running the daily VWAP. The volume is crazy. Yeah, we have really high volume today. 275,000, 257. And this kind of goes back to what I was talking about the higher time frames taking over. This is becoming more of a macro move. Well, stops are always going to change based on the trade. You can take a look at my indicators video in my Becoming an Apex Trader. I talk about the VWAP trades and kind of what the general idea of a good stop loss is, but it's always going to change. This bullish delta coming in is providing a pretty obvious higher low on delta. Not so much a higher low on price. It is a higher low, but it's almost an equal low. But the delta higher low is very obvious. You can see what's happening on the 30-minute candle here. This 30-minute candle, the bottom doji, is a very balanced candle. The volume is pretty spread out throughout that entire candle. So we're still kind of stuck inside that candle and we're rotating, which is basically just the POC node. This candle kind of created the POC node, so now we're just kind of rotating around it. Slightly bearish. You have a bearish bias on volume, or there's a lot of volume on the bottom. But currently that volume is being absorbed, so it's not telling you a direction just yet. High volume, but thin DOM. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, very high volume, but the liquidity is not very good, so you're getting a lot of level 2 orders. You notice how these delta candles are taking longer, 3 minutes, minute and a half, 3 minutes. It's because they're battling right here, right? They don't really have a decisive winner. When they're decisive, you can see like earlier, 43 seconds, 11 seconds, 17 seconds, very fast, right? And my phone will just not stop ringing. Have you guys been getting more spam calls recently, or is my number just probably leaked? I feel like the last like few weeks, few months, my phone is just ringing nonstop. Yeah, popular with all the scammers. Yeah, that's how I feel, Ranger. I probably miss important calls because I just ignore like every call now. Ever trade gold? Not really, no. If I trade gold, it's not from the GC contract. It's usually from like some type of gold company or a gold ETF, like stocks and options, right? Not futures most of the time. We just have that inside chop going on right now. The 30-minute candle is not one directional. We need to hold below 603 or 639, hold above 639. Right now, we're just kind of building this node. We're at 83 likes. If you guys can get that above 100, we'll do some Apex account giveaways at the end of the stream. Appreciate you guys all hanging out. Hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe if you guys enjoy the content. That last video of our Becoming an Apex Trader series will hopefully be coming out on Thursday, possibly Friday, if we need some more time for the edits. I didn't give them a whole lot of time to edit this time. I just got the video finished last night, so this video was very difficult to make. I say that about every video, but this one was very hard to make because these concepts are very... They're live concepts. Like, they need to be taught live. Which is why I try to talk about them a lot on stream, right? So teaching them in hindsight is very difficult. I tried to use a lot of like picture examples of like the tape and the absorption candles and whatnot to help teach it, but it is very difficult teaching them in hindsight. I was thinking for this Q&A for the order flow one, what I might do is I might not do it on the morning stream, but I'll probably start it around like maybe lunchtime or something like that. So we can have the live market and I can hopefully get some examples live. But that would be kind of it'd be a luck thing, right? If I get lucky that day and actually get some live examples. Yeah, it doesn't update live on your guys' end. You have to refresh, but as the streamer, it updates live. Okay, starting to have like we had like a descending triangle where we had a flat bottom, but we were breaking, or putting in lower highs. So now we're breaking that flat bottom. Possibly going back into a bearish move here. Not seeing that bearish delta so far, though. We need to get below that 603 level. You're not really seeing that bearish delta down here. So when we see this much bullish delta coming in when price is going down like this, there's a couple arguments you can make. You could say that the buyers are being absorbed because there is a large limit seller kind of pushing you down. But you could only really make that argument if the price is still being held down, right? If the buyer delta continues to push price higher, like if they're going together and pushing price up, then obviously you can't say that. You can't say there's a limit seller holding you down. The other thing you could say is like it's a divergence, right? Where we have price going down, delta going up. So if that does continue, if the delta continues to come in to the buy side, eventually the buyers are going to win that battle. Now, if they are being squeezed, or if they are being absorbed by a limit seller, that could turn into a squeeze, right? So if that delta continues to come in, but price continues to come down, what you're looking for it to turn into a squeeze would be a very large influx of bearish delta. It would have to like dramatically change into bearish delta because squeezes are violent, right? Squeezes are not slow moves, they're very fast moves. So basically, if it's still slow and steady like it is here, and the delta continues to go up and up and up, usually the delta wins. But if it's not slow and steady and it's very violent, then obviously it would turn into more of a bearish move. Good morning, Lucio. Yeah, you have to update for the likes. Yeah, it updates live on mine. I think we're at 103, so we already broke it. So we'll do some Apex giveaways at the end of the stream. I appreciate you guys liking the stream. When you see the delta chart like this, when I'm showing you the 500 delta chart, and you see it just doing this, where it's barcoding, that is just confirming that you are just building up a node. And you can confirm that by looking at your volume chart, right? Look for that node. And look at that node. That node is so strong, it's actually the POC. You could also confirm that on my other chart. And we could see those nodes broken down into more of a 30-minute time frame instead of just overlapping. So we have a very strong node around 6:15. Same thing here. This is more of a kind of a balanced candle, so the entire candle is very strong. But then we have that overlap on this candle here. So they're just different ways to see the same information. You could see it on this chart, you could see it on this chart, you could see it on that chart. And if you want to become more of a DOM reader, what it looks like on the DOM is kind of like this, where it's just back and forth. Red and green, red and green, red and green, just constantly going back and forth on the same levels, right? It's all the same information, you're just looking at it with a different lens, right? Whatever makes it easier for you. Now, typically, I don't like looking at nodes on this chart. It's just too sloppy. I like looking at this chart like we were in the morning, where it's very one-directional, and you're looking for that kind of flip. You're looking for when it turns into the other side. Or like we were looking at it when it was hitting VWAP. You want to see it hitting VWAP and then kind of reacting to VWAP, or a major level, right? But building up nodes, this chart is not very good for that. It's almost like a Renko chart. Renko's the same way, where it's not very good at showing you that buildup of a node because it's showing you the price movements. But it's very good at showing you the one directional moves and how it reacts to levels. The delta chart is basically a delta Renko chart. So instead of looking for a price movement, you're looking for a delta movement. Yeah, the reaction to the next few weeks of data is probably going to be pretty violent because we haven't had data for so long. Good morning, trader. So now that we're impulsing, we can take a look at how this delta is coming in on the delta chart again. And notice how they're pushing it exactly when that 30-minute candle closed. So now they don't have to worry about single prints for the next 30 minutes, right? Yeah, NASDAQ typically does have lower liquidity than ES, almost always. So on days like this, when you're getting a lot of blue orders on ES, that's probably going to be damn near the whole tape on NASDAQ. Yeah, there's been a lot of delta divergences recently that have not really been playing out as much as they used to. Delta divergence like a year ago used to be something you could rely on almost exactly. Like as soon as there was a bear div or a bull div, you could take a small scalp from that. It's not as reliable nowadays. You're looking for the longer term divergence that we're kind of seeing right now, where it can turn into like a squeeze instead of like the very short term peak by peak divergence. By the way, this is our first target. This is the gap level, that's 6605. So now we're starting to get back into some really old value. We have a lot of old value back in like September that has not been tested. Basically down to 6500. Yeah, these three value levels right here. This POC is too strong of a magnet here. That impulse is immediately failing. We'll see how the delta comes in on this POC retest. If it comes in very bearishly, then obviously it's a kind of like a bear flag. You're bear flagging into the POC. But if they continue to rotate here where it's just bullish bearish like it was before, like this, just back and forth delta coming in, then obviously they're just still building up that node. Not seeing any bearish delta so far. Keep an eye on VWAP, possibly another bear flag in a VWAP, 628 and 639. Here comes VWAP, not seeing any bearish reaction on the POC. We'll see if they get a bearish reaction on VWAP. A lot of absorption on the low being squeezed out here. You can tell it's being squeezed because the delta is so one-directional. Okay, here's VWAP. We'll see if it reacts. This is a much more aggressive move than last time it hit VWAP. We still see that lowercase b profile shape, so keep an eye on the value high. That's where the sellers like to come in. That does line up around the session VWAP as well. Yeah, I think the positions when you're copy trading, if it's copy trading positions, Or sorry, if it's copy trading, I think it's orders. It's a lot faster, I believe. It's one or the other. I think it's orders. Because when you put the order in, it copies it on all the accounts. But when you do positions, it waits for one of them to get filled, then it copy trades them. So I think it's orders that is faster, I believe. They are struggling to find buyer delta above VWAP here, but it hasn't really flipped into bearish delta just yet. There's a little bit coming in below 25. More obvious on NASDAQ, more bearish delta coming in on NQ. This is the problem with having low liquidity, is it's moving so fast you're almost not even getting that confirmation before it starts to move. This has already dropped 10 points and it hasn't even created a bearish delta candle. It was a bit better the last time. What time was it? It was about 10:20, 10:30. Yeah, right here. It was a bit better on this retest because it was creating those bearish delta bars. This is that chop you get from that POC node. This entire like 30-point range is basically just a POC node. You see how this entire node is almost the same volume? The entire value area, basically. It's a very strong node. Now, normally your POC nodes are a lot smaller, right? Like you could argue that this is a POC node, just that one node. But the problem is this entire value area is basically the same volume. This may be that delta trend starting to take over here. That delta trend is still continuing to the buy side. The longer that goes on, the longer they diverge, the more that, the higher the likelihood the delta trend will win. And that's a lot of delta, too. That's, what, 10,000 delta from the low. Keep an eye on that session VWAP coming up at 639 and 641 on NQ. 30-minute sweep on the low, possibly breaking the high. That will be the first 30-minute high break so far today. Okay, let's see the delta reaction on this upper VWAP here. This is also the value high of a lowercase b, so this is where the sellers should be the strongest. So if you don't see immediate bearish delta up here, you might be going back towards the open, possibly a high of day. High of day would be unlikely because of that pattern that we've been seeing recently, where only one side of the initial balance is typically taken out. But obviously today has very low liquidity and it's very high volatility. So it would not surprise me. Today's not a very normal day, right? These candles are insanely wide. It's already 7 points. Obviously, days like this would be days where you want to lower your size, and if you're trading bigs, you might want to go down to micros. The volatility is just kind of insane. Here's the 5-minute trail being taken out. The low did have multiple pivots, a 1 minute, a 5 minute, and a 30-minute pivot. We saw that, I think, yesterday. It was one of the days this week. or sorry, yesterday or Friday, where we had that low, um, you had a bunch of pivots on the low. So you have a pivot at the 1 minute, pivot on the 5 minute, and then it was just showing a 30 minutes. Oh yeah, here it is. It's turned off. I was gonna say, there it is. There's a 30-minute pivot as well. This is that 605 level we were talking about, that gap level. The gap has already been filled in, but like I said earlier, we're watching the level because it has very good reactions. Same thing on NASDAQ, the gap level at 443. It's already filled in, but once again, look at the reactions. Very strong buyer demand. So if there is going to be a macro buy support, this is it. Not seeing the seller reaction on session VWAP or the value high so far. That is a very bad reaction for the sellers. You need to see more bearish delta coming in, or they're going to get completely squeezed out, possibly back to the high of day. This is that delta trend. We talked about it earlier. When the delta trends against price for a long period of time, it typically wins that battle. You have to have a violent reaction to break that pattern where the delta just starts nuking. You almost had that with a couple of block trades. It was being skewed by block trades. But after the block trade was finished, you did not have any follow through. So it was just being skewed. This chart should have a margin on it. Why is it not doing it? Just not seeing any bearish delta whatsoever. Breaking through VWAB like it's not even there. Breaking through the value high like it's not even there. If we're going back into a full session rotation, that goes back to 836 on NQ. And that goes back basically here on ES, around 58. Here is the retest of the open. For how volatile we are, and for how low the liquidity is, I'm very surprised they are not creating any single prints today. They're doing a really good job keeping the profile pretty healthy. No poor high, no poor low, no single prints. Did I see the new update on Addis? They added AI? No, I haven't. How'd they add AI? What does it do? Sell stops getting blasted? Yeah, for sure. When you see the delta moving like that, definitely a lot of sellers turning into buyers. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get the giveaway ready. So we're going to give away some Apex accounts. It's going to be a promo code for a free account for 30 days. As we always do, pick a number between 1 and 100. Only pick one number. If you guys tie, if you guys have the same number, we'll just pick those as the winners, and we'll do another re-roll to see who actually wins. But yeah, just pick one number between 1 and 100. I'm going to roll it twice, so we're going to pick two winners today. I will give you guys 2 or 3 minutes. All right, I'll give you guys one more minute. We'll roll it at 11:36. A lot of bearish delta starting to come in above VWAP here. Look for that retest of VWAP. A little bit of a 30-minute sweep on that high here. So far, kind of a micro pullback doji. All right, 30 more seconds. Pick a number between 1 and 100. Only pick one number. All right, I'm going to stop you there. Mauricio will be the last number. Let me go ahead and roll it. I'm going to roll it twice. All right, Tiny Sniper, I'll make you the last one. So Tiny, you're the last one. Dark, I'm only taking your first number, so 89 is your number. Lucky number 13. Let's see. Did anyone pick the lucky number? Let's see. Oh, Cash Jack did. Do we have multiple 13s? I see Cash Jack. Jim also had 13. Is that it? Am I missing anybody? Is Jim and Cash Jack? I think that's it. Okay, so for you guys, let me re-roll for you guys because you guys tied. Pick a number between 1 and 10 for you guys. And I'll just keep rolling it until one of you guys wins. And I'll do one more winner after this as well. ADMA being protected here, no longer seeing a sweep. Okay, 7 and 4. All right, I'll keep rolling it until one of you guys win. It was already 7 there. Cash Jack, you're on fire today. There you go. All right, Cash Jack, you are the first winner. Now I'm going to do the second winner here. Second winner is 75. Let me see here. I don't think we have any 75s. Cash Jack, in the meantime, here's my email. Send me an email letting me know it's you. I'm going to send you a random number. And then you just have to put that random number in chat so I can confirm it's you. Getting a lot of trappy price action right now. It's trying to push up, but it keeps getting trapped. That is the second time it's swept that high. Keep an eye on VWAP down at 40 and 30. Let me double check. I don't think we have a 75. I need to re-roll this, I believe. No 75. Let me re-roll it. 97. Let me see if we have a 97. I don't think we have a 97. If I miss your number, let me know, guys, and I'll go back and double check, but I don't think we have a 97 here. All right, let me redo it. 61. Do we have a 61? I need to get my Nightbot working again, so these giveaways would be a lot easier. Oh, there we go, Texas. I almost missed you. Thank you guys for helping me out. Are you still here, Texas? I believe you're the only 61. Let me see if you emailed me, Jack. Same thing for you, Texas. Can you send me an email? Just let me know, hey, it's me. I'm going to send you a random number, and then just confirm that number in chat, and then I'll send you your code. Actually, sorry, I gave you guys the wrong email. Send it to this one. 1 second. Sorry, send it to that email, not the admin email. Turning a bit into a vertical distribution here. Keep an eye on those pullbacks to the 24 EMA. You're seeing a lot more traps on the highs where the breakout traders are being swept. If you guys are heading out, I appreciate you guys being here. We will be doing some more giveaways over the next couple of weeks. We'll be doing our really big giveaway for the laptop coming up pretty soon as well. Once that last video is released, hopefully this week, and then we'll do the Q&A for that video next week. We'll probably do the laptop giveaway either at the end of next week or maybe the week after. So in about a week or two. And then that series will finally be finished. And then we'll move on to back to some short form content, doing some YouTube shorts and doing some more recap videos. That sort of thing. Awesome. I see your guys' emails. I'm going to send you a random number. Just put that random number in chat. Yeah, before I do the laptop giveaway, I'm going to send you guys an email. If you guys have been emailing me your tickets, I'm going to send you an email to confirm how many tickets you have before we do the final drawing. Awesome, Texas. I got you. Got you as well, Jack. Okay. All right, so now you guys are going to see the promo code. I'm going to send you guys some promo codes. It's going to give you a free account for 30 days. If you guys do not pass that Apex account in that 30 days, be sure to go back to the brew code because it's going to charge you full price. The auto renewal is going to charge you full price. So make sure to either pass that account in 30 days or cancel it at the end. But all right, guys, on that note, I'm going to head out. I appreciate you guys being here. I will be in Discord the rest of the day, so if you guys are in Discord, I will see you guys over there. Be on the lookout. It's kind of turning into a vertical distribution here, a little bit of almost like a rollover top. The aggressive buyers are kind of getting stuck on these highs. They're constantly trying to break out, but it keeps turning into like a sweep. Watch this node here. It's building up a very strong node at around 51. They could possibly try to shift that POC up. That POC is pretty strong, though. You would need like twice as much volume as you have right here. But yeah, turning a bit into a vertical distribution, but it's getting a little bit, it's getting a little sloppy for the buyers. So they might come back to VWAP. So keep an eye on that. But all right, guys, I will see you in Discord. If you guys are not in Discord, I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace, everybody.